Hey, we're back. Look at us, huh? We got the old stars and stripes behind us. These are my friends, Jim Brumbelow, and immediately to my right, Dale Green, good friends from Fannin County who came in to chat with us this morning about a lot of things. Marine related, Toys for Tots related, the birthday bash that I managed to tell you about early on. You know, we started, and Dale came. There's three of us that 3 out of the 4 of us turned 70 within a week of each other this year, and so we decided we were going to have a 210th birthday celebration. Well, let me tell you, folks, it wasn't anywhere near what we attended Saturday night, and that's the 243rd birthday of the United States Marine Corps. It was held at the North Georgia Technical College, which is right outside of Blairsville. Beautiful facility, well done, very spacious, and it gave us the ability to kind of, spread our wings a little bit from past years where we've been a little bit cramped. The first thing I think it's appropriate is to, again, introduce each one individually. Tell us about their service and how they came to be in Blue Ridge, Georgia. Dale, why don't you take it away on that note?
Well, I've been in Blue Ridge 4 years, full-time now. We've owned property in Fannin County for about 16 years. Came up from the burbs of Atlanta, from Johns Creek, actually.
Oh, yeah. My son lives there.
Okay. And we just love the lifestyle in the mountains. We've been blessed with meeting a lot of new friends and become good friends with folks. And we enjoy the community and we want to contribute to the community. So,
you know, folks, when Dale says we love to contribute to the community. My wife and I have owned property up there about 10 years, and we've permanent residents somewhere around 4. I can tell you that I've never seen such a giving, more caring community. Not that I've experienced, that all over the country, and I'm sure that there's several like it. But I can't be any more proud to tell you the number of people up there, regardless of whether they're retired or not, that volunteer for something. Whether they volunteer for a worthy cause like Toys for Tots, whether they are with the Humane Society of Blue Ridge, whether they're with Feed Fannin, whether they're with Habitat for Humanity, Bowls for Hope, caring for battered women. The talent pool of volunteers is unbelievable. Dale and I serve on a board together at Lake Blue Ridge Civic Association whose charter is to take care of the environment. And like I say, have you guys ever seen the volunteer experience? And we'll touch on the volunteers that are with the Toys for Tots. But I mean, I just can't talk enough about volunteerism up there and how on a day-to-day basis it never ceases to amaze my wife and myself. My wife serves on the board of the Arts Center, another tremendous organization. But enough about volunteers. Jim, tell us about you and your service. And
I was in the Marine Corps from 1968 through 1974 on active duty. And then after I got out, was in the reserves for a while, and then business obligations kind of took away the time that I needed there. And then we moved up here full-time 5 years ago when I retired. We'd been coming up here since 1966.
Nice.
Actually built a new home here in 2000. And I have family links that go back to the late 1800s. My wife's family is all
from here.
Up in this, yes.
Wow, North Georgia, huh?
Yes.
Roots.
And we moved up here from Atlanta, and then I retired and met this guy, and we got involved in a lot of different things, and I love it.
This guy, huh?
Met each other in the barbershop.
Oh, really? It's probably the one that we all go to.
It is.
That's great. Great story. So your business life was in Atlanta, but your roots and your wife's roots are here in North Georgia.
Yes.
Is that?
Yes, that's correct.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Very cool. So we were together. I've had the fortune of being able to attend the Marine Corps Ball celebration for the last, I think, 2 or 3 years. But it's been going on a heck of a long time, right?
Well, the Marine Corps Ball has been celebrated, or the Marine Corps Birthday has been celebrated since 1775. We've only had 4 Marine Corps balls in North Georgia.
Okay.
The first 3 were out at the old Blue Ridge Swim and Tennis Center, which is now Bear Claw Vineyards.
Right. Been there?
Yeah. This year, as you said, we moved it to North Georgia Technical College because we had outgrown the venue and we needed a bigger place. We've gotten more popular and more people come to our ball and enjoy it, so we had to have a bigger venue.
I was amazed at the number of veterans that showed up at that ball, and it's a really moving experience, folks. I urge you to reach out next year if you want to see the celebration. And you didn't miss anything if you didn't come this year, because, as I understand it, the celebrations are pretty much laid in stone.
The ceremony itself, no matter where you are in the world, if you go to a formal Marine Corps birthday ball, the ceremony is essentially the same. There may be some minor tweaks to account for local needs, but the basic ceremony is the same. In fact, the celebration of the Marine Corps birthday was decreed by General John Lejeune right after World War I.
Okay.
In 1911, he issued a Marine Corps order that said, on November the 10th, wherever Marines are, you will stop and celebrate and recognize the birthday of our Corps.
That's very, very cool. I was kind of sneaking around as best that I can sneak. I was cruising around and trying to take some relevant pictures. And my wife spent some time editing the pictures. I put them on a little jump drive and brought them into Josh today. And what I'd like to do is maybe go back and forth and have these gentlemen comment on the pictures, what's transpiring at that moment, what the significance is, and just kind of talk about the moment. The pictures are going to come up individually and slowly. We'll be off the screen for the people at home. They're going to see the picture. Then we're going to drop the picture off as you continue to talk about each one. Okay. So Josh, bring up that first shot, would you? And let me let's take a look at that and see what we got. There's 2 of our guests here. On the right is Dale, and on the far left is Jim, and they are standing around. Well, I'm sorry, Dale. Take it away. Tell us what you're doing there and what you're preparing for.
Well, this is prior to the ceremony actually beginning, and what we're doing is looking at the birthday cake that was baked for us by a young lady by the name of Tanya Ross, and she did that cake off of a picture, and that is the exact cake that the Commandant of the Marine Corps, well, it's not the same cake, but the exact replica of the cake that the Commandant of the Marine Corps cut in Washington, D.C. to celebrate the birthday.
I've got a little bit better picture coming up at some point in time in the chronology, but the cake was just amazing.
It was.
She does a tremendous job.
I'm telling you, the detail in the cake, and again, you'll see it in a better shot that I took, but there it is.
There it is.
My biggest fear, I got a piece from the far side which had the really dark frosting on it. My biggest fear that I was going to come away with that blue frosting on my mouth. But as you can see now, that there's some significance on the left with the plate and the forks, and we'll tell you about that as we go. But Jim, take us through and just tell us what those pieces are there.
Well,
what it's composed of.
The piece on the far right is obviously a set of blues.
Right.
And in the center is the Marine Corps emblem, EGA, Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. And then the left forefront is a cover. We don't call them hats, we call them covers.
Got it.
And of course the American flag. And then right in the very forefront is an officer's sword. It's called a Mameluke sword. It is always used to cut the cake.
Sword has some significance in the way the cake is cut, who gets the first piece, who gets the next piece, and so on, and we'll get into that Josh, what's coming next? Dale?
Well, we always try to have a bagpiper, and this is our piper piping the guest table into the dining room to begin the ceremony. And the piper is playing a variety of songs on the bagpipe. He'll play the Marine Corps hymn several times.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
The job that he did.
The gentleman just behind the bagpiper there is our guest of honor, that's General John Crowley. And just behind General Crowley is Colonel Mike Nunley, who is probably the senior Marine in North Georgia. And then just behind in the red coat in the background is Jeff O'Neill, who is also a Marine. Jeff is the commandant of our local Marine Corps League Chapter 1438 in Blue Ridge.
And he basically was the MC, as I recall, of the ceremony, correct?
He was the MC of the ceremony.
Yeah, the MC. Josh, what do you have next for us? This was our group, my wife and the Pontons. In the foreground, and I've got a close-up. That, to me, that picture right there on the far right embodies what I think of as a Marine. I don't know who the gentleman is, but I'm telling you, he was one buttoned-up dude.
He's Sergeant Cody.
Yeah, Sergeant Cody, and he still fits that uniform pretty well, doesn't he?
He does. Take that down, Josh, so we can talk about the next picture.
The one thing that I wanted to point out was the Marine Corps Ball is obviously to celebrate the Marine Corps birthday, but if you noticed in the background of that previous picture, there was a fellow in an Army dress uniform.
Yep.
So you don't have to be just a Marine to come to the Marine Corps Ball. Any of the other branches of service are welcome, and friends of Marines are welcome. So.
And we saw Air Force represented.
Yes.
We saw Army represented.
Yes.
Navy.
Navy. One of our close friends, Bob Renicky, served in Vietnam. A Army veteran, a Ranger.
Correct.
He was at our table. We had Pete Folger at our table, one of your valued sponsors.
Yes, and
Pete
a Marine.
Pete and a Marine, yeah. Pete and his boys are all there, and they get into the spirit, don't they?
Yes, we do.
Hoorah!
Yes, we do.
What's the next, Josh? There's Mike and the Colonel,
General Crowley, Major General Crowley, John Crowley.
He's a Major General, retired.
Correct.
And he's also, I believe, a captain with American Airlines in civilian life.
That's correct also.
Resides in Marietta, Georgia, and has family around. He gave a really nice presentation, and I'm sure you guys enjoyed having him. What's next, Josh? There's our boys. Great shot.
Well, that's just before the ceremony has begun, and it's just before wheeling the birthday cake in to be cut for the guest of honor and the oldest and youngest Marine. Nice.
They're rolling the cake in. There's that close-up shot that I was talking about. I just think that is just such a cool picture. Now it embodies just what I visualize, as a. Where did the word jarhead come from?
I think the origins of the term jarhead refer.
It's not a derogatory term, is it?
Or it depends on how it's used.
I guess you can say that about a lot of things.
I think it's the haircuts.
Okay.
The high and tight haircuts.
Just like he had.
Yes.
Yeah. He had a high and tight.
High and tight haircut.
Yeah, that's cool. High and tight haircut. Jarhead. Just don't use it in a derogatory fashion. How many more you got, Josh?
This is Jim and I will. This is the table to those that have fallen that are not with us. And every
celebration, every birthday.
It's called the missing man table.
Missing
man's table.
Right. And every item on that table has a significance.
Is it possible that you collectively take us through? Obviously, the folded flag in the back.
The folded flag represents the fact that someone has fallen and has been brought home in their casket covered with that flag, and then
that's usually a piece that's presented to the family. Correct.
It's taken off the casket as the person is interred, folded into the trifold, and presented to a family member.
I know there's a lit candle and a rose on there. What's the significance?
The rose is the candle is a black candle. It is always black.
Okay.
And it's just to signify an eternal light in remembrance of those who have given all for this country.
Got it.
There is also a table setting there with the plate turned upside down, meaning that they are not with us to be served. There is a Purple Heart medal there as well. There is a lemon and salt, which signify the bitterness of what they have endured.
The salt, as I recall, was we talked about the tears.
Tears.
Right.
The tears of the family, correct?
Correct.
The bitterness from the tears and how it crystallizes as salt.
Right.
And the two lids and the two swords.
Well, they're the two covers. One is an officer's one is an
Sorry.
officer's cover, and one is an enlisted cover.
Okay.
The one of the swords is the previously mentioned Marmaluke sword, which is an officer's sword. The other sword there with the different hilt is a NCO sword. So
Got
it
it.
represents non-commissioned officers and commissioned officers.
Got it. In the background, you see our piper, the piper there.
Background, you see the piper.
And then the flag is the Marine Corps flag right behind. There's a MIA POW
Well,
piece on the back of the chair. Is
it's
that right?
actually MIA. There are,
okay.
in theory, no more POWs.
Correct. Okay.
There are only MIAs, and it does represent that we have people out there that are still yet to be accounted for.
Yeah, got it. Josh, more?
This is Jim bringing in the cake to present it to the guest of honor and to Colonel Nunley prior to the cake being cut.
And I don't know if I've got a picture of the cake being cut. What's the next picture? Now that's our Star Spangled Banner.
Star Spangled Banner, and our young high school student, Isabella Miller, sang the Star Spangled Banner for us and just did a wonderful job.
Now, was that before or after the cake cutting?
That's before the cake cutting.
Before the cake cutting, okay. Next picture, Josh. There we go. There's the cake cutting. Tell us what those two gentlemen back there represent and what the protocol is and what the order of deliverance of the cake.
Well, the older gentleman in the suit is our oldest Marine there. You don't always recognize, after the guest of honor, you recognize the oldest Marine.
The oldest Marine present.
Oldest Marine present.
In the room, okay.
He's 95.
95 years old.
World War II veteran.
World War II veteran.
Wow.
His name is Hatchell.
And he's from the North Georgia Mountains? He's from
Blairsville.
He's from
Blairsville, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. And then the Marine to his left?
That is Staff Sergeant Ryan Scott, who resides in Mineral Bluff. Ryan is the youngest Marine present, and he's had quite a distinguished career himself. He is a reconnaissance Marine. He jumps out of perfectly good airplanes.
For no apparent reason.
For no reason.
For no apparent reason. I think you guys have used that line before.
And he swims underwater and sneaks and crawls and does all things that he's a very specialized Marine.
He currently serves as a contractor, as I recall.
He's in a reserve unit in Marietta, the same reserve unit that my older son is in.
Okay.
They're teammates, and they deployed to Afghanistan together as reservists. But Ryan he's a civilian contractor. He does 6 and 7 month tours in different parts of the world.
We've recognized the oldest and the youngest because, Jim, tell us about the significance of the cake cutting and the protocol and how that whole thing comes about.
When the cake is cut, the first piece is offered to the guest of honor, in this case, General Crawley. He samples the cake. And then the second piece is cut and is handed to the oldest Marine, who samples the cake. And then the oldest Marine passes it to the youngest Marine, which signifies passing of knowledge, tradition, etc., to the newest generation of Marines.
Thanks, Josh. It's really a solemn. What phrase would you put to? It's a solemn affair, however, it's still a celebration.
That's a good way to describe it. It is a solemn affair because we want to honor our traditions, but we also want to celebrate our traditions and what we've accomplished as individuals and as Marines, as a part of a bigger effort than ourselves.
You shared with me off camera a celebration that you had while you were serving in Vietnam. Tell me about that. Tell us about that.
Well, I can't remember exactly where we were, but I know we weren't in a good place. And it was the Marine Corps birthday, and we knew that. And we knew we had our supply run coming in. A helicopter came in with all the beans, bullets, and bandages to resupply us. Triple Bs. And also came in with a very, not a cake that elaborate, but a very small cake.
And this was on November 10th.
November the 10th.
Got to be there.
And we got 2 beers per man.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, they're the best beers I've ever had.
That's a great story. Jim, have you been to a lot of other Marine Corps celebrations? Any memorable ones that you can tell us about?
Yeah, actually, the very memorable one occurred prior to the one we just conducted, where Colonel Ellie and I went over to the Blue Ridge Assisted Living Facility.
Oh, wow.
And did a birthday celebration for the Marines and other servicemen in that facility. And we actually took some cake back to some people who were actually confined to their beds, which meant a lot to them, and it probably meant more to us to be able
That's very cool.
to do that.
Appreciate you sharing that with us. That's awesome. Josh, what have you got next for us? This was the last shot that I took. This was always moving to me, and I get verklempt when I even, when it comes about. This is when they played taps. The lights came down, and what we were doing, I'm going to let you say it, but I believe taps signified that we were bringing the official ceremony to a close. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Tell us about that.
In this case, taps was the last thing that we did, and we have just gone through the missing table that Jim explained, and so we conclude that part of the ceremony by the playing of taps, and after that, the Master of Ceremony will announce that the ceremony is over, and to please relax and sit down and enjoy dinner and the camaraderie of being together.
It was an amazing event, guys. The food was good. The menus on the table there. I mean, we had filet, we had chicken, we had mashed potatoes, we had a medley of vegetables. We had the ceremonial cake for dessert, which again I was afraid I was going to have blue lips. It looked like I was getting ready to pass out or something like that. But I think everybody had a great time. We had a great time at our table, meeting Jim and Kim again. Pete and Kim Folger.
Mm-hmm.
They are wonderful sponsors to the event, and enjoyed being with them that night. So we're gonna, before we take a break here, we wanna just. Is there anybody that you want to acknowledge? Anybody that was there that you'd like to thank? Anybody? Any key pieces of the event that we didn't highlight that you can think of?
I think the one thing we would like to emphasize, and Jim will speak also, but is that it is a Marine Corps birthday celebration, but you don't have to just be a Marine. It's a tremendous, in your previous section you were talking about patriotism.
Oh boy.
It is a tremendous opportunity to celebrate not just the Marine Corps, but to celebrate our country and the freedoms that we have and enjoy, and recognize those that have gone into harm's way to protect those freedoms.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. Even though it is a Marine Corps birthday celebration, we greatly enjoy having members of other services join us for this event, particularly because it becomes the day before. It is the day before Veterans Day.
Right.
So it's meaningful for us, and we hope it becomes meaningful for everybody who attends.
Everybody that comes brings an unwrapped toy for Tots. Toys for Tots is a unbelievable 70-year effort by the Marine Corps, and bringing joy to the hearts of children that are underprivileged. We've got our own chapter in Fannin County, which Jim heads up, and Dale is a integral part. And in the closing half hour, after we do some messages here, we'd like to talk about Toys for Tots, how you can participate, what the history is, how we qualify, and where the drop-off places are, how the toys are distributed, and where the applications can be found so you can make application if you so need. So we'll take a quick message here. Thank you guys for talking to us about the ball. Again, this whole segment will be clipped and it'll be available on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. So if anybody has seen this that wants to share it, if the guys that are here want to share it with some of their fellow veterans and kind of show how we've memorialized the event, feel free to do that. And Josh, without further ado, how about taking us to a commercial break so we can help celebrate the people that make this all possible for you.